That night, a light drizzle fell slowly, casting dark shadows on the city streets that were beginning to empty. A gas station by the roadside was still operating, though the atmosphere was rather quiet. Flickering neon lights illuminated the fuel pump area, while a sturdy man stood next to his black SUV. His face remained calm, seemingly unaffected by the cold night air. He wore a black leather jacket that hugged his muscular frame, his gaze fixed on the fuel pump screen. From a distance, two suspicious figures stood near the gas station's convenience store, watching him intently. The two men, one skinny with a worn-out jacket, the other more muscular with a sharp gaze, whispered to each other behind one of the gas station's support pillars. "He's a perfect target," the skinny man said, nodding toward the man filling his gas tank. "Expensive car, alone, and this place is deserted." His bigger companion grinned, his hand instinctively reaching for a folding knife hidden inside his jacket. "Let's make this quick," he replied. Without hesitation, they pulled black masks over their faces and swiftly approached the man, ensuring that no one saw their movements. Once they were close enough, the larger man swiftly pulled out his knife and pointed it at the man refueling his car. "Hand over your wallet and keys," he growled threateningly. The skinny man stood slightly behind him, his eyes darting left and right, making sure the coast was clear. "Don't even think about resisting, or you'll regret it," he added. They were confident that the man would be scared and surrender without a fight, just like most of their previous victims. After all, in a deserted place like this, who would come to his rescue? However, the man's reaction was not what they had expected. Instead of trembling in fear or hurriedly handing over his valuables, he remained still. He calmly closed his fuel tank lid, then looked at the two criminals with piercing eyes. There was something in his gaze that made them feel a sudden tension, as if they had just made a grave mistake. "Are you sure you want to do this?" His voice was flat, devoid of fear. Instantly, the larger man sensed that something was off. He gripped his knife tighter, but before he could react, something unexpected happened. Within seconds, the man sprang into action. With swift and precise movements, he grabbed the larger man's wrist and twisted it forcefully. A scream of pain echoed through the quiet gas station. The knife clattered to the ground as the larger man stumbled backward, unable to believe how quickly the situation had turned against him. Meanwhile, the skinny man, who had been so sure of their plan, was now frozen in place. His eyes widened as he realized they had just picked the wrong victim, and it was a mistake they would soon pay for dearly. The larger man was still grimacing in pain as his wrist was twisted forcefully. He tried to pull his hand back, but the man's grip was so firm, as if his fingers were made of steel. Before he could even think of fighting back, a powerful punch landed squarely in his stomach. His body staggered backward, pain spreading up to his chest. He collapsed onto the wet pavement, groaning in agony while clutching his abdomen. The skinny man standing behind him flinched, his eyes widening as he watched his partner fall within mere seconds. Without wasting time, the man shifted his attention to the second criminal. His expression remained calm, but his gaze was sharp and piercing. The skinny man took a step back, hesitating between fighting or fleeing. However, before he could make a decision, the man stepped forward with astonishing speed and unwavering confidence. "Don't be stupid," he said flatly. "Drop the weapon and sit still." The skinny man felt his throat go dry. All this time, he and his partner had committed many robberies, but for the first time, he felt like prey trapped before a true predator. A few people inside the gas station's convenience store began noticing the commotion. Some quickly pulled out their phones and started recording. A gas station employee, who had been hiding behind the cashier's desk, immediately called the police. Meanwhile, the skinny man remained frozen, unsure of what to do. His larger companion was still lying on the ground, groaning in pain, while the man they had intended to rob stood tall like a seasoned fighter. In his mind, he wondered, who exactly was this man? The tension peaked when the skinny man finally made a desperate move. With trembling hands, he tried to pull a small knife from his jacket pocket. However, before he could fully draw it, the man had already reacted. In an instant, he grabbed the criminal's wrist and twisted it behind his back, causing the small knife to clatter to the ground. With swift movements, he shoved the skinny man against the convenience store wall, pinning him in place. "I gave you a chance," he said coldly. "Now you're staying right here until the police arrive." The skinny man felt his entire body go weak. He tried to resist, but the pressure on his arm was so strong that he could barely move. His breathing was ragged and his heart pounded furiously. He knew resistance was futile. The man they had attempted to rob was no ordinary victim. He was someone with highly trained combat skills. With fear etched on his face, he could only lower his head and hope the police arrived before things got any worse. Meanwhile, the man remained standing firm, ensuring that neither criminal would dare make another move. Tonight, their crime had reached an unexpected end. The sound of police sirens echoed through the air, drawing closer to the scene. Several patrol cars sped toward the gas station, their flashing lights reflecting off the drizzle that still fell. Within less than 5 minutes of the report being made, several armed officers exited their vehicles and immediately secured the area. One officer quickly approached the sturdy man, who was still pinning one of the criminals against the convenience store wall. "Let him go, we'll take it from here," the officer said firmly. The man loosened his grip and stepped back, allowing the police to swiftly handcuff the two now helpless criminals. The larger criminal remained sprawled on the ground, his face twisted in pain, while his skinny accomplice no longer dared to resist. The police quickly secured them, searched their jacket pockets, and found several pieces of evidence, including the knife used in the attempted robbery. "So this is the CCTV footage?" one officer asked, glancing toward the convenience store's security camera. A gas station employee nodded quickly and handed over his phone, showing the video he had recorded. Several witnesses also began speaking, describing how the man had taken down the two criminals in mere seconds. One of the officers approached the sturdy man and looked at him with curiosity. "Are you okay? You seem to have some experience with situations like this," he remarked. The man gave a faint smile and calmly replied, "I'm fine. They just picked the wrong target." The officer nodded, as if understanding that the man before him was no ordinary person. In his mind, he knew that if it weren't for the man's courage and skill, the situation could have ended much worse. Some of the other officers exchanged whispers, astonished by how a single unarmed man had subdued two criminals in such a short time. Not long after, videos of the incident began circulating on social media. People admired the man's bravery and composure in the face of danger. Comments poured in, praising his skills and mocking the criminals for so foolishly choosing the wrong victim. That night, two robbers failed in their attempt, while a nameless man left the scene without much fuss. Though his identity remained a mystery, one thing was certain. Those who intended to do harm should think twice before choosing their target, because they might just end up facing the wrong person.